Last time we talked about raising children in general, and this is today, inshallah, we'll talk about the part three of this series. We talked about in the beginning, the first part, we talked about the importance of the family in Islam and what it means in Islam and so on. And then we talked about the education of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of how to raise children. And today, this part, we are going to focus on how we deal with the children in the West. As you know, we are living in a country which is considered in the West, as well as there are other people who are living in Europe and so on. A lot of immigrants, a lot of Muslim immigrants, families now are living in these countries. So they are interacting with the West. They're living in those communities, and of course that brings with it a lot of I guess a lot of stresses and a lot of special need for educating the children of how to handle these societies. After all, as you know, we as Muslims, we all persevere to establish a family that is following the Islamic principles and the Islamic values. So how do we deal with this in the West, in this environment that we live in? There are three main things that face us here in a Western society. The first thing that we can look at is our presence in an environment which is totally different from a religious point of view, totally different from our own environment as Muslims. So we're living obviously in either one of two cases. Either we live in a society which follows Christianity most of the time, or it could be also atheism. So that means, or it is a non-religious society that doesn't have a religion. So these are the main two cases, or majority of the cases are either Christianity, living in an environment which is Christianity, controlled by or overruled by Christianity, or atheism. That's the first issue. The second issue is the openness that we see on those in the West. That means availability of all the things that helps, or that forces the people to follow their desires and for their wishes and so on, without any control. And you know exactly what I'm talking about here in the West, and we see it every day. So this is available in abundance, and it's available for everyone without any control, without any boundaries. The third thing that is important in how we deal with the West is the kind of human relations that are outside the normal instinct, the normal way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. What we call shudud, or the extraordinary in the kind of relationship that exists between people, between humanities. And this is another problem that is now becoming more and more common. And it's actually being enforced on us, enforced on the people in these societies to be accepted, although it is outside the norm, outside the usual norm that we know about the relationship between humans. So these are the main three things that we currently face, main three issues that we face in those societies that we live in now. So there must be a plan for the parents in a family to how handle this situation, what they should do. And again, the what I'm going to mention now is all based on the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of how to actually handle this situation, as he taught us in such a status that we are living in now. So the first thing, and I'm not going to take too long of your time, I'll just mention them quickly, but they are all important. Of course, that doesn't mean it's limited to those things. It's just some of the ideas that I thought about. But I think, of course, one thing to bear in mind, that every one of us has his own status and his own situation. So he has to think about his situation in relation to the education of the Prophet ﷺ, and how to apply these principles and education ideas and ideologies in raising his children. So everybody, again, depending on his status, should consider that in applying these ideologies. So the first thing that I thought of is that a child has to understand why he is present in this non-Islamic environment, so that he has to know why we are here, why we are in a society which is different, or which is not related to our religion and related to our usual upbringing back home. And it is important for parents to clarify this fact for the children, so that they do not go into the conflict of double personalities. Why we are here? Why did we come here? Why didn't we remain in our countries in a safer environment, or an Islamic environment that we can communicate and deal with? So these are questions, they come to the child, to the mind of the child, especially as they go in the ages between, as they grow 7 to 15. These questions need to be answered and need to be clear in the mind of the child, so that he knows where he stands.
Run away from them.
Well, that's the reason. That's the reason. So exactly. So that's what I mean. They should understand this. It's not. They should understand why they are placed in such an environment to face those challenges, so that they do not have this conflict.
And for Muslims,
the second thing is, which is very important, is to make it very clear to the child that he has his own ideology and he has his own religion to follow. And how is that related? How is his beliefs, how is his iman, how is his faith related to the faith or disfaith of the country that he lives in, where he stands against that or where he stands with that. So for example, we are living now in majority in America is presumably a Christian society. So where, as a Muslim, where do we stand in relation to being to the Christianity as a religion, as a prevailing religion in this country? So the child should know his standing in relation to that. He's a Muslim. He should be taught about Christianity. What is Christianity? Who's the prophet of Christianity? What is the book of Christianity? All of that he should know, and how Islam deals with that, how Islam relates to that. So he knows his character. He knows then how he stands in relation to the current affairs that's going on around him in the environment that he's living in. That's the second thing. The third thing is to practice at home all the morals and the Islamic worship, so that we stand as an example for our children. And not just practice it, but also explain it to your children. Tell them why we're doing this, who put this on us to do, and why we follow that. For example, if you are eating with your right hand, why we are eating with our right hand? Why not the left hand? So all of that, the Prophet taught us this. He told us to do that. So we are following what the Prophet said. So all of these things should be explained to the children, and they should be aware of why they are doing these things. And that makes it easier for them then to follow, if they understand why we are doing it. Fourth thing is to make sure that or adhere to those grouping of the Muslims. There's I don't know if it is a hadith or saying, but that the sheep can eat only from those the fox or the wolf will eat from those sheep that are isolated. So that means we should not, as a Muslims, we should always try to group as Muslims. Always aim for gatherings of Muslims. Let the children go to these gatherings, mix with the Muslims, go to Salat al-Jum'ah, go to salawat in general, go to iftar in Ramadan, and so on. All of these are activities and required gatherings that will make the children feel that they belong to this society. Fifth thing is to establish strong and effective ties with the Islamic families. So you, as a father and a mother, you start looking for those families that have similar age children, that have, of course, Muslim families that are, following the principle of Islam and so on, and make those your friends, make those family visits and relationship very strong, and so that the children themselves can interact with each other and learn from each other. This is very important, again, to feel the stability for the child, so that he feels is stable in this environment. Talk to your children at home in their language, in the Arabic language, for example. If you are speaking Arabic, talk to them in their own language, in the Arabic language. Teach them the Arabic language, and teach them the religion. And these are usually from specialized. You will find some specialized educators, teachers that are willing to give that information. If that is not available, you can take them to schools and make sure that they go to schools, at least weekend schools, to get some information about the Arabic language and the Islamic religion. So that keeps them in touch with the Islamic religion. Another important issue that we can also, it will help to raise the children in a good way, in a good Islamic manner, is also to keep in touch with your original environment, with your relations, with your kins, with your all brothers, sisters of the father and mother back home. The children should learn that they need to get in touch with them, to keep salat al-rahim, to keep communicating with the kins all the time, and to establish that relationship. Even sometimes maybe travel with them back home once a year, for example, to keep that contact with your original environment. So that is not forgotten. An important part is to make sure that when your children come back from school, sit with them, talk to them about what they learned from school, and pay a special attention to, especially these days, to what they are being taught that is against our beliefs and our religion, and make sure that they understand why this is against our religion, and why they should not believe in it, or they stand against it. Unfortunately, this puts an extra duty on the father and mother, especially in the Western society, as I said, to know what is against our religion, and teach the children why it is against our religion, and clarify that for them so that they don't follow it. Make sure to explain to the children what are the limits and the boundaries of the relationship between the man and a woman, or a boy and a girl, and how to handle that, and how to live with this situation, what kind of dresses that he or she should be wearing, what are the limits. All of these should be explained to the child, so that he knows how to dress, how to deal with the women, or the women deal with the men, and so on. So that is all clarified for the children as they are growing up in this society. Because, as I said, there are no clear boundaries in the societies that we live in the West. So these things have to be explained, and the limits and the boundaries have to be explained to the children, so that they know where they stand. Explain to your children why it is forbidden in Islam to go for drugs, for alcohol, for any kind of drugging, drugging chemicals or something like that. Why it is not allowed? Why the Prophet ﷺ said you should not go for these things? Why Islam says avoid drugs and avoid alcohol and avoid so on? All of that should be explained, and should be made great as a sin for the children, so that they know that they should not go to it, and they should always be standing against it. And the last thing, I see that Ahmad is getting bored now. And the last thing I want to explain, which is again becoming more and more common these days, is the those unusual relationship between humans, which is like the LGBT and so on. This is becoming now enforced on the education system here, for example, in America, to teach children about these things. So these have to be very, surely clarified to the children why it is not allowed in Islam, how Islam is handling this situation, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent a specific prophet, which is the Prophet Lut alayhi salam, to actually counteract this kind of thing that was practiced in Qawm Lut, and how how they were punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just for doing this. Explain these things to the children so that they know how Islam stands against this, what's being enforced on them by the society. Just those points I wanted to mention. These are some of the points I said. I mean, as I said, it depends on your situation, it depends on what you face every day. Use the education of the Prophet ﷺ of how to apply it in your life and how to educate your children. It's extra responsibility. We all know that. It's an environment that's different to our values, but we are living in it for whatever reason, and hopefully this will help us to actually raise our children in a good way. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala sayyidina.
Question.